Hello, my name is Matt and I will be showing you my drum maintenance routine. What tools do I use? First and foremost, I have a couple of high tension drum keys and an Allen wrench set. Here is some petroleum jelly, some Q-tips, and a cup filled with warm water and simple green. And last but certainly not least, I have a bottle of Meguiar's Car Compound and Meguiar's Car Wax. So step one is obviously to disassemble the drum. First, I remove the carrier attachment, followed by the top rim. And then I remove the tape that's on the guts for my snare. And then I remove the guts themselves. And then I remove the bottom rim of the snare. So I slowed down the video here because I'm curious if anybody has ever had this issue. The white piece here that you'll see me point out on the guts, it looks like a little plastic spacer. And when I got my hands on these drums with the school I'm working with, the guts weren't able to be removed initially. So I stuck a razor between that metal casing where the plastic was kind of getting stuck and kind of chipped away at the plastic until it was able to be removed. I'm mostly just curious if anybody else has had this issue. If so, let me know what you did. These drums are the better part of 6 years old, so they've seen better days, and I know parts go wrong and everything. Anyways, next step, I remove the shell of the drum, as well as these two assembly pieces for the guts, and you'll see why I do all of this later on. Then I brought my rims over to a table where I can stand up and not be hunched over my back. And I take off these rod guards that Pearl puts on their drums. I have a love-hate relationship. They do a really nice job at making sure your lugs don't come out of the rim, but they do kind of make it a pain when you want to clean the drums. Anyways, all I'm doing here is I'm taking the lugs out of the rim and I'm putting the rod guards into my cup with warm water and simple green, which is just a general cleaning solution. I'm sure a lot of chemicals will work. I actually don't do a lot of work with these. I just kind of put them in the cup, let them soak while I do all this other work to the drum, and I call it a day with them. Right here you can see all the wear and tear that the rims get over the years. They get this film on it, which is what we're looking to remove with what I'm about to show you. So this is Meguiar's Car Compound. Basically, this is what you use before you wax a car, and the point of it is you put big scratches in whatever surface you're using it on, and then you put smaller scratches with wax. I start to apply this compound and then I stop for a second because I pull the Velcro off of this bottom rim where the sound projector usually goes, or the scoop. I don't know if this is a great decision because if you know anything about wax, things don't like to stick to it as well, but you know, it's a decision I made. We'll see if I regret it when I go to reapply the Velcro that we have. So if you've never used compound before, a couple of tricks that will help you. Number one is to use a different rag when applying the compound than when wiping the compound off of the surface. Another one is to make sure that you're using more than one area on your rag. That one should be obvious, but if it wasn't, it's always great to keep in mind. Compound usually takes a couple of coats before you can really start seeing a difference. But as you can see, the green rag that I'm using is the one I'm using to apply compound, and the yellow one is the one I'm using to wipe the compound off of the surface. There's no real technique on how to apply or wipe off compound. It's just to do it a couple times until it starts looking a little better. While I apply compound to just about everything on this drum, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. So, as I said before, my name is Matt. I am a recent graduate of the University of Oklahoma. I marched with the Pride of Oklahoma for 3 years, and that's about all the experience I have outside of high school and teaching a couple of high schools here and there. I have a lot of passion for drumming and marching percussion especially, and I think my love for marching percussion really started about my last year of high school. Kind of had the itch to do more, never really able to make it in any drum corps or anything, but had an opportunity to march with the Pride of Oklahoma after a successful audition. I love being able to see the result of work that I do, not only when it comes to maintenance on drums for a school that I work with, but just seeing the progress of the students that I work with, seeing their passion grow, seeing their ability to play well, be great performers. I think that's all stuff I just love watching happen. It's very satisfying. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video in the first place is I don't really see a lot of people talking about their experience with maintaining drums, at least on YouTube or any video media forms. I feel like no matter where I go, I'm always putting work into making equipment stay in good condition, and I think that's an underrated skill, not just because I'm good at it, but because even after pricing out all new drums for the marching band versus what a couple of man hours results in for these drums, just feels like a no-brainer. You just put a couple hours in, the drums start to shine again, and honestly, they look like they're only a couple years old rather than 6 years old or so, however old these drums are. This one's probably the most annoying one to apply anything to. You see that little scratched area, and I miss it when I reassemble the drum. Maybe that's something I go back to another day or something. But you can kind of see it's very scratched from where the carrier assembly goes, and I try to just get a lot of compound in that area to make it look a little better. You can see me scrubbing at it, and I do the same with the wax. I try to coat it as much as I can. I will say I never figure out how much time it takes me to do one drum. I know these are in pretty rough condition, but I feel like it would just frustrate me to know how much time it takes to actually do all of this work to a drum. So there's a couple of things I do here. First, I take all of the bolts out of the gut assembly, and I just wipe them off with a rag that still has a little bit of compound on it. They don't need much because most of the time they're not even seen. However, it's worth doing. These casings for the gut assembly themselves, I haven't really found something great to clean them up. I think the issue is that part is the most exposed to sun and weather. Even when a cover's on the drum, those things are still protruding out of the cover. This is probably the thing that will stand out more than anything else. This is Meguiar's liquid car wax, and it's what actually makes everything shine. And by everything, I quite literally mean everything. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot to make something shine. As you can see on the shell of this drum, there is a ton of fingerprints. And this does a lot. I mean, car wax will help keep moisture off, it will keep dirt off, it will keep fingerprints off, more or less. Sometimes you do need a microfiber towel just to wipe it off, but the car wax is really what helps kind of mitigate your dirtiness on all of this. I use that foam car wax pad to apply the wax, and then I use a microfiber to wipe it off. Kind of same deal as compound, just a little more, and then rinse and repeat with every part. I hope you're enjoying the random royalty-free math rock I'm finding online. This next step that you'll see me do, I reassemble the gut assemblies, and then you'll see me wiping off the lugs with a paper towel. I know after a bunch of years, these can get a lot of either petroleum jelly or lithium grease, or there's a lot of other substances people will use on these, and sometimes it's nice to just get a fresh threading. So my phone died while I was recording this, but basically what I did was I just kind of took these and I wiped them off with a microfiber, and then I also took a Q-tip and I just kind of went inside of these, circling them around, and then give them a little wipe around the edge right here. You see there's still a little dirt left on it, but that's about all I did while I didn't realize my phone was dead. I do the same here with the rods and the bearing edge, where I just put a Q-tip in a couple of times until it's relatively clean. If I wanted to go crazy, I'd pull out a tap and die set and re-tap all of the threadings, but we're not doing that today. The next thing I do is I dump all of the simple green and warm water out of my cup. I did it outside, it's biodegradable, so don't worry about any of that. I put them on a paper towel, which when I'm done, I promptly dump all over the floor, and I have to go searching for them, which is not in the video. And during this step, I also apply petroleum jelly to all of the lugs. And this stuff actually works pretty well. I know a lot of people prefer white lithium grease, which I do too, which you might be asking, why are you using petroleum jelly? Well, that's because that's what the school had, and if I don't have to buy it and I just have to do the work, you know, I'm fine doing it. This next step takes a little bit, and you should still be wearing gloves for it, because what I do is I put the lugs back in the correct holes and I put the rod guards back in them. And as I go back to the top rim here, you'll see I'm not really satisfied, and you can see a lot of scuffs on it still. So I break the compound back out, and I start going back at it with the compound, because I know I can do a better job. But at the end of the day, I gotta call it quits at some point, and I think where I called it quits, I was actually very satisfied. The last step is potentially the most satisfying step, and that's reassembling the drum. And I think the most annoying part about the pearl drum is you have to line up the logo with the rods. Not a big deal, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's got to be centered, it's got to look pretty. You're doing all this work, you don't want to make it look bad. And currently I'm putting the heads that were already on the drum back on. I know it's kind of counterintuitive to do this, however, our new heads haven't come in yet, and these ones are actually still pretty new. I replaced them the other day, so it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to sit here and give any tuning guides on drums, so if you're looking for any of that, please don't come to me. I'm not a snare drummer. I actually ask all of my snare friends all the time what to do, and for the most part, I'd like to think I get it down decently. However, I played bass drum at the University of Oklahoma, and I played tenors in high school, so I'm a team tonal player by trade, really. One thing I will point out that helps me reassemble these gut assemblies is that they actually line up with the holes on the shell, which is really nice. And the last step is to just put the carrier attachment back on the drum, and it's all assembled. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned something today. If you do something else, feel free to leave a comment and let me know some of your drum maintenance habits, especially with marching drums. I'd love to hear what other people do.